right, it's happening. Toni Collier is here. Say your last name perfectly for me, because I'm sure.
No, Collier. That's it. I know
Collier,
people think it's fancy. It's not Collier. It's just regular.
Very fancy, like you're Europe traveled or something. Very lovely. You guys have asked for this one. We've had people say, "Get Toni on the show."
What?
Yes.
Oh gosh, I hope it's good.
We've got some crossover because of our shared communities. Jamie has been a friend here of the house, and just some other, Jenny have been here. So y'all kind of run in a wolf pack together.
Yeah, we do.
So good. Which, as we're talking, as we were pre-show, we were mentioning that you're headed off to If Gathering. You last weekend doing something. Oh my gosh, girl, we're lucky to have you.
Thank you. I'm
really
so
grateful.
grateful.
Okay, so you wrote a book called Brave Enough to Be Broken. Hello. I think all of our listeners go, okay, you got my attention on the broken and the brave right there, because they are walking that out. Yeah. So why did you write this book, and who did you write it for?
I think I wrote it because when I was going through my own healing journey from so much past trauma, I mean, when I was 8, I became a caregiver of my mom. I was sexually manipulated and abused by family members, lost my virginity at 13, went to numbing with alcohol and drugs at 14 and 15, left my parents' house at 16, then went buck wild all throughout college and suffered with an eating disorder. I had bulimia and I mean, gosh, just so many things. And I got into an abusive marriage and just one thing after the other. And when I finally hit the point at 24 where I was like, okay, that was a roller coaster. I need to get off and I need to go find some real healing and wholeness. I didn't know where to start. I mean, I literally was like, okay, so what do I do first? Like, am I going to namaste my way through this thing? Like, what's getting ready to happen? And so
green juice and yoga. Is that
what is this detox? Do I just detox the toxicity, And it was just this gruesome, not linear, very painful healing journey, which it almost always is. But when I looked back and got to a more whole place, a more healthy place, I said, I think it could be cool if someone would create a roadmap. Like, what are some areas that are consistent in all of our healing journeys? Like, I don't know, looking at community and saying, oh, this is maybe a toxic relationship, and believing like it's really difficult to heal in the place and with the people that broke you in the first place. Like, just some principles, that can kind of help as we're going down this journey. And so I wrote the book offering that up to the world, saying, hey, here are some things that I did, that my women's ministry women did, that we did 2 beta groups of women all over the world. And they agreed, like, oh yeah, look at community, look at counseling, and how do you actually do counseling well? What does it look like to date a counselor, like quote unquote, before you jump all the way into marrying? And what does it look like to say, okay, that counselor didn't work, but someone else did? What does it look like to have accountability in counseling? All the things. And so that's why I wrote the book. And it's been so healing. Because one, I've looked back at my story and I've said, oh gosh, all that wasn't in vain. Praise. There's purpose at the end of this. There's a life of meaning that says, I may have been in some valleys, but I was refined in the valleys so that I could stand in the valleys for others. And it's just been great and healing and awesome. And I just want to have more people read it and then pass it on and give someone else the keys to healing,
Yeah. Like, don't you kind of go, I know you mentioned your pre-show a little bit, like the mother wound, like, wouldn't this have been something fantastic? Maybe could have changed the direction, the course of your life if your mother had received tools like this. Cause we have a very shared story of the mother wound that was there, my parents, and then my daughter being a reason to be like, okay, we got to figure something out. So let me back up. Where did Christ intersect with your, like, I mean, what, if it was like me, I had him in my back pocket as I was doing
for a long time. Yeah. He didn't come up on the scene until I was about 21. Okay. No, he'd always been on the scene. I didn't come up on the scene, until I was 21. I gave my life to Christ at a church after I moved to Georgia with a guy that I'd known for 3 months. Okay. And it's interesting though, because I went to this church and I got, kind of spotted out by the youth pastor there as someone that they would have loved to, be in youth ministry. And so I dived into youth ministry and I was like, okay, guys, but I'm just a little crazy still, because what was really happening is I think I was just like a fan, not a follower of Christ.
Yeah. Come on.
And it was just weird. It was surface level. I was on the shore. I wasn't going deep. I wasn't following God anywhere. I was just celebrating that, okay, I said yes to Jesus. Like, life should get a little bit better. I love to sing, so worship is cool, like things like that. And it wasn't until I honestly started my healing journey, which this is in the book as well, that I said, all right, it's time to like get off the shore and really dive deep into this thing. Because the truth is, there's depth in our relationship with God that we can choose to access or not.
Yeah.
And so that's when kind of Christ came up on the scene. But I don't think I really allowed him to infiltrate my life until I started healing, until I started going to counseling. I found new friends, got to a healthy church. And then it was just good. And it's been.
Yeah. So then was Christ like, would you've called yourself a Christian as you were going off the rails?
Oh, here's what's funny. Not only would I call myself a Christian, but I went to this church, started volunteering in the youth ministry, became the youth leader, then the youth director. Then I got ordained as a minister, all while still living as like a fan of God. Like,
neat.
And let's talk about toxic church culture real quick.
I was going to say how
Buckle
quick
up.
We are. Oh my gosh. Yeah, go.
Yeah, but what was happening was I was, the church, and unfortunately I had a really spiritually abusive pastor. And so got a lot of church hurt and spiritual manipulation in my story as well. But what was happening is, our pastor saw this like girl who was talented and, had this zeal and this personality. And he just kind of threw me in the youth ministry, but he wasn't checking for like my mental health. He wasn't checking to make sure I was actually living the things that I preached. Right.
Yeah.
There was no accountability there, and there was no accountability for him either. And of course, like we are only as good as our leader is. We hit the glass ceilings of our leaders. And so here we are, just all toxic doing ministry, and the church crumbled. I mean, staff members left. I mean, it just wasn't healthy. But I was a straight up youth pastor, still getting high, still drumming, not dealing with the anxiety, the pain in an abusive marriage. I mean, come on, doing the things that are now exposed, right? With other leaders. Yeah.
Wow. What a kindness and a mercy of God, though, that honestly, when we are wretched sinners, even still carrying out the deeds of our body and our mind, as it says in Ephesians, like, but God still rich in mercy, like he knows. And the fact that it had to come to this, okay, this has to get real for me, or as you're saying, like, I got to push out into the deep. I call that like this grace to come to ourselves, like prodigal 15, the prodigal son, because it says he came to himself and then he went to the Father. And that's a grace. Like, who the heck gets to come to themselves? Like, God just goes, I'll let you see how wretched this is. And this is not what I made you for.
That's good.
In hopes that you'll come to me, not in hopes to go get some green juice and I'm gonna detox.
And namaste your way through this thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna namaste my way through. That's a shirt. We're gonna make a shirt. Can't namaste your way.
Been ready. Let's do a giveaway. Okay.
All right. So then let's get to the story of your daughter, because I love that. I connect to that. I was parenting, like my brokenness of my parenting, going, what am I doing? I'm repeating this. And I swore I would never be like my so-and-so. Yeah. And it was happening. So can you give us a little like story tell there about, make our moms feel a little more normal.
Right. Okay. So, well, I mean, this, like oftentimes when we're in trauma and when there's chaos there, it becomes our normal, right? Like neurons that wire together, fire together. Our brain starts to normalize the trauma. We're in this like vortex of a world. And that's what was happening with my parenting and in my first marriage. Until, this is why community is so important, I actually found a couple that was really healthy. And as I started to kind of get mentored by them and watching her even raise her son, I was like, something is broken here. And I did pursue healing and counseling for my marriage. And I mean, tried everything and it just wasn't working. There were still doors ripped off the hinges and holes punched in the walls. And I just remember looking my daughter in the eyes and seeing like real fear we were in the car, me and my ex-husband, and driving, and he was yelling and screaming, and she's just in the back seat. And I just had like this flashback, like you said, like of my mom and my dad yelling and screaming, and the fact that I grew up with that. And I was like, oh no. See, I think what happened was I didn't have the confidence to heal and to pursue even a deeper relationship with Jesus for myself. But for my daughter, something rose the freak up. I was like, I mean, it was almost like God, in his kindness and mercy, allow that moment to happen for me to see, like, she could very well be infiltrated with the things that you were.
Absolutely.
And darkness can't win here, sweet girl. You're going to have to break a generational cycle right now. And I made a quick shift. I remember, I didn't have a lawyer. I didn't have any money. I was a single parent. I didn't have a job. And it's crazy because it was such an inopportune time to leave. But I'm like, no, like I got to get into a more safe environment for my daughter.
Wow.
And I just ran for, I stayed up in IHOP, printed out all the divorce papers. I had like 97 papers all over the IHOP table, drinking coffee, filling it out myself. A community lawyer randomly popped up and was like, I'll review your paperwork for free and help you file it. And I mean, it was crazy. And I was living with another single mom, and it was hard. We had this little bedroom. My daughter was way too big for the pack and play that was in the room. But I mean, it just was this really nasty, but it was the wilderness for sure, but the wilderness with the end in sight. There was a light at the end of the tunnel, and I was going to get to it no matter what. And it's crazy because my daughter lives such a different life than me, and than she would have had I not looked at my life and said, we got to do better here.
It's so merciful, gosh. And to put that real hunger in you, like, first of all, when is it ever a good time to leave an abusive marriage?
Surprise.
My God.
It's just weird. Like you just get stuck and
never's a good time.
Never a good time.
But the fact that you like, okay, I'm doing it. And I'm in an IHOP filling out these papers. Probably one of those, I had a moment like that in my marriage as well, as I was going through the healing process and going, this is the moment. I am the subject of a country song. This is what country songs are made of.
I'm the ballad. I am the ballad. My life is the ballad. Okay.
But it's like what I couldn't do for myself. It's like, I'm going to do this for my kids. Something has to break. Something has to break, which is why the title of the book is Brave Enough to Be Broken. Like you went all in. Jesus so honors hunger, desperation. Like I think about that in scripture. The desperate people were the ones who had the intimacy with Christ. The ones I got nothing. Blind Bartimaeus shamefully shouting out. I got no legs. I don't know where you are, but I'm going to call out like that. I think God's just wanting more of that in the churches, in our hearts. We have been living so placid in the comforts. So I don't know. I mean, what's your heart for the state like of the church and our broken? Tell me, preach to me.
I was just studying Judges 4, and it's one of my favorites because it's, the prophetess Deborah, she's judging the Israelites because them suckers are yet again just not doing what they need to do. They're not, surrendering to a God that loves them, that has saw them through. I mean, it's just crazy. And of course they get like subjected to slavery and to bondage with Sisera's army and all the things. And it's interesting because at the end of Judges 4, it talks about like, after 20 years of them being like in bondage, and then they're pleading out to God, God still comes for them, right? Like he still comes and he goes to Barak, the leader of their army, and he's like, I will send you into battle and you will win and you guys will be okay. And even, they're still just like, Barak's like, Deborah, I don't know. I just don't know. And she's like, has not the Lord literally seen you through over and over and over and over again? And that's why it's so important for us to come to ourselves, because when we come to ourselves and see how crazy ratchet, nuts we are, it just opens our minds up to the fact that it's like, one, there's gratitude there because it's like, God, I don't even know how I got here. I still wake up every single morning. I'm like, Lord, don't let me mess this up. Cause I'm a little bit wild. I still think about doing crazy things sometimes. Okay. Like but don't let me mess it up. And then you fast forward into the New Testament and you see the Apostle Paul, who's had this radical transformation of like being a Christian bully to now a Christian leader. And instead of boasting about the fact that he's, writing over half the New Testament, little did he know, he's planning all these churches. He's on boats and he's like starving for days. He is like ride or die Christian. I'm all in for the kingdom. He's like, actually, the thing that I boast about the most is my weaknesses. Yeah. It's the thorn in my side that reminds me that God is who he says he is. And I'm just measly old little me. And he's so self-deprecating in ways, like not in a super unhealthy way, but so that we can all see, and the people that he's ministering to can all see that it is just our surrender. It's not our perfection. It's not getting it right. It's all the success in the world. It's not the little ratchet little followers we got and all the little crazy stuff. It is literally the catalyst to everything that we are ready for is our surrender. It's right there at the cross. And it's just saying, I just can't do it myself. Like, Jesus, I give everyone and everything to you. Take over my life because you're just better at it. And I think that's how we have to be with our healing journey, right? Like, it's just like people look at me now and they're just like, oh, you teach about this and you speak about this and you got this book. And I'm just like, just please don't forget that we never arrive. Please don't forget that I'm still counseling every 2 weeks and I'm still processing through some stuff, things I would love to write about and talk about and teach about, but I'm not ready to. Yeah. Because we've never arrived. It's just that surrender.
We don't want to arrive. If we arrive, where's the need for Christ?
Yeah, that's weird. Well, then it's false perfection, and then we're looking crazy and prideful, and it's just not going to work.
No joke. All right, so we talk about how, we know how good God's been, and even through the healing and the journey, like he's been so faithful. Where would I go? Why would I leave now? And so we can boast in that. But what do you do, Toni, now as a woman healing, continually heal? Yeah. When God lets you down or it seems like he hasn't shown up, and the tension. I love that you use the word tension. We love that word around here. God is good and this sucks. Yeah. And I'm mad and I'm hurt. What do you do in that gap?
We have this, we have a women's course that we've sent some women through that want to heal. And we have this like mantra. It comes with like a little t-shirt and everything. And it just says that hurt and hope can coexist. Yeah. I'm not in it for the fluff, man. Like I done been through too much, man. When you got drugs in your past and abuse and just spiritual manipulation, when you got all that stuff, it's just like, look. Like I'm not looking for Teletubby land. Okay. I'm not. And it's real. Like I am not looking for a perfect life because I for dang sure don't want to stay here. Like I'm like, Jesus, when you ready to call me home, baby, I will come skipping and running. Yeah. And I think when we start to look and posture ourselves heavenward, we don't expect full heaven here on earth. And so we start, and again, expectations and unmet expectations are the very thing that breaks us. There was an unmet expectation in my last marriage that broke us. There's unmet expectations just floating around in our motherhood, in our parenting. They're just floating around. And so, but I think when we expect for things not to be so perfect, for the healing journey not to be this like namaste situation with the holy oils or whatever they're called, essential oils. When we expect it not to be, and not in a cynical glass half empty type of way, but when we are mature enough to hold that this world is broken and there's going to be hurt, but there's also an immense amount of hope that we have access to. I just think we become like spiritual little adults that say, okay, let's do the dance. Let's hold them both. And even neurologically, like Brene Brown teaches about this, we were meant to hold joy and pain together.
That's right.
If we try to exclude pain, we will inevitably exclude joy. It's just the way that literally God has wired us. He's wired us to process both. Yeah. And so I just think we have to stay in that pocket and just be like, okay, stuff just gonna suck a little bit.
And you hit on the fact, like, and then also has to be like, where am I going to go? Like, right?
Ooh, about to take
Like,
my
I'm mad at you, God. And I get to be like, I can say I'm mad at you, but I know in that heart of my hearts, where am I going to go? Because better is one day than
in
where
your
I was
house
before.
than
Yes.
thousands
Elsewhere.
elsewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Amen. Amen.
Thousands, a billion. Okay.
Okay. You wrote this in the book. You said, for a moment, I imagined God on the sidelines of my life saying, quote, put me in the game, Toni. For 25 years, I've been wanting to carry this for you. Put me in. I've got strength for your weakness. I've got power for your brokenness. Put me in the game. What was going on in that moment?
Oh, man. Here's the deal, man. You know, like I said, there's a part of my story where I was, became a little caregiver at 8 years old. What that meant was that there was a whole bunch of pride and proudness for like taking care of my mama and bringing her to doctor's appointments when I got my license and divvying out her little medicine. It made me who I am, a person that loves to stand in the trenches for people. However, the shadow side to that gift is that I think I can handle everything. I can care for myself. I process this in counseling all the time because I am the friend that like thinks about the friends and does everything for my people, but I long for someone to care for me like that. Like I'm the caregiver type friend. And I realized one time I was at this spiritual encounter on my journey to like becoming a follower of God.
Yeah.
And someone had told me that, Psalm 91 was like the scripture that God wanted for me in that season. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Okay. It doesn't even make any sense. And I remember the Lord, me starting to really pursue God and the voice of God and him leading me back to that scripture. And it literally talks about him protecting us. And, it's weird because I look at my past and I'm like, where you was at? What kind of protection did you do? Where were you at when, a cousin of mine was sexually manipulating me and fondling? And where were you? What kind of protection are we talking about here? But when you really dive into that scripture for what it is, it's God saying, you have no idea how many angels I've wrapped around you, how many times you've been driving drunk and I literally scooped you up and landed you safely in a ditch so that you would not kill yourself or someone else. You don't know, you haven't experienced the wrath that I had against the people that hurt you, their journeys and what that was and how I avenged you in those ways. You have no idea what's going around. And when you look at Psalm 91, it's literally, the writer is literally saying like, I'm in this field and danger's all around me. But they're not able to touch me for some reason.
Yeah.
And I think once I really started to read that scripture and apply it to my life, that was the moment that I was like, so you mean to tell me God is not the one at the end of the tunnel waiting for me to take care of myself and get it all together? He's actually the one lighting up the way through? Dang. He's actually been the one that's like, Toni, I'm not going to impress my help on you. You have free will here. Woo. But if you call on me, I'll answer. It's James 4:7. Yell a loud no to the enemy and watch him flee, but whisper a quiet yes to Jesus and he'll be there in no time. That's how I live now, where Jesus is not my plan B. For years and years, I was my plan A.
That's right.
Right. I had to switch it up real quick and make him the plan A. And then whatever I can contribute, Lord, you can use it. So, yeah.
You talked about community and the importance of community. And I know this to be true for myself and for a lot of our listeners, for people who experienced early trauma or where they had to grow up quickly and they had to become the provider. And they just like, okay, I got to figure this thing out. I can't count on these adults who are supposed to be do something. So I got to figure this out.
Supposed to be doing something.
Right. This does not seem right. But the helplessness that we feel. And so we become the helper. What does it look like, Toni, practically? And how does it feel for you to ask for help or receive help from your friends? And I want a practical, like, give me some resistance, give me like, and then so-and-so barges in and makes, like sometimes, because we don't know how to ask for help. What 100%. Does that look like in your life? And that where there's been tangible presence of people going, no, I'm going to help you and you're going to receive this.
Yeah. Well, first of all, even when you say that, my pits just start sweating. I'm just like, well, I don't need help. What are you talking about? Right. So it's this thing that I still wrestle with. Like it's in me for years and years and years. The person that taught me how to receive help is my now husband, Sam. And, thank God that he's super kind and he's like Jesus or whatever, but he's also very aggressive. Okay. And we don't call it aggressive. We call it assertive. He's a very assertive person. But I remember when we first started dating, I mean, I was an actual wreck. I mean, I should not have been dating. Let me just tell you that. Andy Stanley talks about the rules of love, sex, and dating. And he's like, if you've gone through a divorce, wait 2 years after your divorce to start dating. If you've gone through a breakup, wait a year. And we were like, no, Andy, what you talking about? That's crazy.
Yeah.
He was right. Okay. And we literally looked him in the face one day and we were like, you were right. You were so right. But because we didn't follow that, we hopped right in. Like I got a divorce, I transitioned out and started dating.
Yeah.
And I remember us getting to a point where, I mean, he couldn't even say things like, hey, what you said really hurt my feelings without it triggering me. What are you going to leave? Are you going to yell at me? Are you going to be upset? Like, what do you mean I hurt your feelings? Like, I didn't mean that. What are you talking about? I couldn't own up to anything. Mm-hmm. And I definitely couldn't tend to him because I needed so much tending. And I remember him saying, hey, I really have enjoyed us dating. And I just really feel like we could go the distance, but you got to go get some help. Mm-hmm. And we're sitting in his house, in his like office room. And he's just like, I love you. Mm-hmm. And I will walk down this healing journey with you. And I'm just like, who is this man? Wow. Who is this man? Who is this man that has come into my life? I'm like, brother, are you sure? I'm a single mom. My baby daddy look crazy. Wow. He's like, I will walk with you through it. But I had heard those things before, right? Like that was like, okay, like that's great that you're saying that. And then he found a counselor for me and paid for all of my sessions for 2 years, and every single week. There's a skin. Yeah. There was, I mean, Ann Voskamp says this, he was like Jesus with skin on. Mm-hmm. Like I've never experienced someone saying, let me help you. And then I'm going to help you. Yeah. And you don't have to ask and you don't have to do anything. I'm going to show up and you get to rest in my care. Wow. And that was like the first, I mean, that cultivated even the bravery for me to now ask a friend and say, hey, can you help out with this? Can you come over and do this? Can you, and it's still very vulnerable for me. It's still a weird space. It's a weak area. Yeah. But yeah, my now husband, he was like, you gonna get this help, whether you like it or not, girl.
And not just the fact that he said he was one, it sounds like the tone in which he said it wasn't in a screaming argument.
No.
You need to get help. It was just this sobering, I love you and you have to get help. Like that's how Christ talks to us.
I know.
Confronting, but kind way.
It's all grace, all truth, all the time.
Oh,
over and over again. It's John 8. It's the woman that committed adultery and she's embarrassed and she's in the middle of the temple courts with God knows what on her body. If they let her get dressed after she was caught or not, we don't know. And it's Jesus literally looking at her and saying, I do not condemn you. However, go and live your life of sin. Go and do the thing.
And not only did your husband say it, but then, and I'm going to pay for it. Like, I'm about to pay. Fund this thing.
Yeah, because you need a lot, my girl. You don't need to just go every month. You need a weekly, okay? Sweet girl. Don't
pick up an extra
sit down this need to be your best friend, okay? Sit down. Okay.
Oh,
it was beautiful.
That's amazing. God is so kind. And especially when it shows up in flesh. Like, okay, I believe. So now I want it again, practical. What do you do now? Just your own practices for maintaining your freedom and then also continuing to grow. Because, as we say, we're all healing.
So I live by something called the replenishment cycle, my friends. Okay. Tom Patterson Institute teaches about it, life planning, all the things. And I mean, it's simple. I mean, I just want to live a life on the offense, not the defense. And most of my life, more than half at this point, because I'm not 50 yet, was lived on the defense. It was very reactive. It was very, oh my God, okay, well, we got drugs going on here. Okay, I got to figure that out. I got to do that, And I vowed that to be the best version of myself for my now husband, for my daughter, for my new little baby son, it's going to take me having something in the reserve. What that practically looks like is with the replenishment cycle, you choose like 2 to 3 things that just really fill you up, like not surface level, kind of like, oh man, I had a McDonald's chicken nugget and it just really brought back the nostalgia, but like something that's just good for you. One of those things for me is nature. I just love to be outside. I love to be around God's untouched creation. Like we don't touch it. We don't get to come in and make it all beautiful. He has created it, that pure organic nature. I love to do it. I literally went for a hike yesterday. My son and my nanny and we just love the outdoors. And I came back home. My husband's like, you are giddy like a child. I'm like, I know, I just got filled up. So nature is one of those things. When you choose something, you also have to choose the frequency of which you experience it. So it is not enough for me just to go outside one time a week. I actually need about 2 to 3 times. And doing that cadence, and that's just one thing. For me, it's also like getting my hair done and nails done, which seems really vain, but also if you look good, you feel good, you are good. You know what I'm saying? And so those are all things that are part of my replenishment cycle, and they're literally on a cadence. It's literally happening every week. And what's going on is I'm filling up the reserve, because again, it goes back to what we said earlier. Hurt and hope can coexist. Brokenness is going to come. My anxiety is going to rear its ugly head again. I may be a little sad. I may have to call things are going to happen. But if I have something in the reserve, if I'm so replenished that when the hard times come, I can actually say, all right, so that took about 10% for me, but I just had about 50% stored up. So I can handle 10%. When I'm empty, however, like right after I had a kid, birthed a human into the world, and I can't go and replenish, right? There are other things that you have to put in place. But when you have a replenishment cycle and you know that's a part of your identity, not and how you function, when you can't get it, you put boundaries around what you can and cannot do. There's contingencies there. So
that's huge. So where do you live that the outdoors?
I live in Georgia, Lake Lanier.
And there's hiking?
Yes, we found a brand new trail yesterday, and we were like, this is the best. We're so happy about ourselves. So there's a lake that's nearby, but then I'm not about to get no nasty lake water. Let me just say that right now, but I will 100% go for a hike, look at some mountains, like roll in the grass. I'm in, ride my bike.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you a camping girl? Like, would you go camp?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I've tried. My whole family hates it. So it's very interesting.
We have a whole extension in the ministry called Rev Wild, where we take people outdoors. And the whole point is like outdoor to kind of reset, recycle, like get back in touch with the Lord, nature, one another, in community with others. But we also take people across the Grand Canyon in one day called Rim to Him. So if you could be my special guest, if you ever want to train for that.
Don't play. We'll do some devotionals down those canyons.
Oh, we do it. We take people down, and we're intentional about the whole experience being called Rim to Him.
I got my hiking boots.
You would love it. So I thought like you'd be one of our people for that. So I love that. And I love that you know what it is. And then you guard it, right? Like I'm sure you, and I'm sure your husband's like, you probably need to go do that.
Oh, he's like, now baby, are your nails done, sweet girl? What's going on here? What's happening? Have you smelled the outside? But that's what happens when you start to pay attention to yourself. I can feel it. Like I can feel when I'm drained. I can feel. And I look up and I'm like, I've been in the house for 2 days. I need to get outside. Right? I need to get outside.
Toni, Zoom or like the whole COVID thing.
Oh, snap.
It has turned me into, there are days I don't leave my house for 3 days. I've had days where I've gotten in my car and been like, I have not been in my car in like 4 or 5 days.
Like, well, there's that Snicker bar I didn't know.
So weird.
There's that banana I started yesterday. Like what in the world? I know.
What in the world? Yeah. I'm on that same kind of trajectory of I need to at least just step out into fresh air. Yep. I love feeling the sun on my face. Live in Arizona, so there's always some nice sun.
Oh my gosh.
Just the warmth and then air and breathe, like that will get me. And day after day of meetings, I will buffer in a 15-minute pause to just get up out of this chair, go outside or do something to shift my state. But non-negotiables. And they're not really hard. It's just, just staying like true to them and true to yourself.
It's the consistency that's always pretty hard. You start off, we all do our little resolutions and stuff. And then it's like, oh, well, that went downhill. But it's just consistency.
Anything else? You go outdoors, anything that you're like, Nails, hair. I love that. Good. Like just.
Okay. So worship is a thing for me as well.
Yeah. Me too.
So I am not a singer, unfortunately. My husband is a little worship guy, and a pastor. But I just love to belt out worship songs.
Love it.
I don't know why.
Well, I'll tell you why. Neurologically, you're shift into your parasympathetic nervous system.
There you go.
So anytime, that's why yogis chant that hum.
Yes, that
that is actually turning on that rest and digest, tend and befriend part of us. And so think about how powerful it is when we're actually turning that on, but then worshiping God.
Yeah. In reverence to God.
That's just super power stuff. So I
can belt out. Oh, yes. We try to leave it on like in the house, like just in the background,
Yes.
And it just does it. It shifts the atmosphere. I feel like my kids are more calm. It's just beautiful.
What's a song right now that you're belting out?
Goodness of God. Oh yeah. I mean, poor Siri. I hope she doesn't say anything, but
she's gonna
poor
start
Siri, like she is like, I know what you want, baby girl. I'm like, please play Goodness of God live. I mean,
which one? The CC,
when I had my son.
Which
CC,
version?
the new one, CC one.
Get down. You ain't getting up. I know.
I love yours.
I love it. Oh, it's so good.
But yeah, it's been my thing. That, and there's another one, Too Good to Not Believe by Tribal. You're listening.
Haven't heard it. Writing it down. Write it down.
Go ahead and
Too Good Not to Believe.
Notes. Too Good to Not Believe by Tribal. There's another one by Brandon Lake, but the Tribal one is the
Tribal one. Okay.
Oh, it'll change you. Those two songs were on repeat when we had our son, and it's been on repeat, like just for seasons and seasons. Too Good to Not Believe. You're too good to not believe, God.
Come on. That'll prime the pump. That'll prime the pump for when a tough day comes.
That'll get you ready for a Sunday morning, I tell you.
Okay, last question. If you could sit down over coffee with a listener right now, what's the one thing you tell them?
Oh, I would say God is kind. Makes me cry every time. I think it took me the longest time to really fully surrender to God because I thought he was really mean. Mm-hmm. And I thought he was so ashamed of me. It wasn't until I realized how kind he was that I was like, oh, I could bring you anything. Yeah, I could bring you anything. I could bring you all my anxious thoughts. I could bring you my suicidal ideation and thoughts, and I could bring you my depression, and you would literally sit there and take account of all my sufferings and bottle up every single one of my tears. That a nice person doesn't do that. A kind person does that. That bottles up every single one of your tears. There's a book called Prayer in the Night. There's a prayer at the beginning. And it talks about this idea of us getting into heaven. And sometimes we just kind of think that we're just going to skip right in there and it's just going to be like from, earth to like, all of a sudden we're just going to be like Teletubbies bopping around little Care Bears. But what if our first encounter with God isn't like just a celebration that we're there, but instead it's like this space where he just holds us and says, let's take account of everything that you've been through. And now come walk into glory. And it's like a kind God does that. And so when you're in the valleys, when you're in moments of brokenness, when you're like, God, why did you allow my body to experience this? Why did you allow my mind to go to this place? I think remembering that he's so kind, it changes everything. Yeah. It changes everything. And you're just like, no matter what, he's kind. Amen. And he's with me. He's the God of witness.
It's so good. Oh, Selah.
Yeah.
All right. Rapid fire questions in closing.
Oh, I'm ready. I want it.
These are funny.
I've been ready for this. I've been want to be on camera.
Okay, here we go. Favorite way to move your body?
Oh, cycling. Peloton, baby.
Oh, the Peloton. That's right. I think I read that in the notes. You got your Peloton on. Who's your favorite instructor?
Oh, it has to be.
It's Allie
Love. Tunde, she scares me. Scares me. She just does. Every time I press play, I'm like, no, that's not.
Oh, it's sweet. I love her. Have you done her Sunday rides? Like where she's like it's, oh yeah, it's
kind of like, I've done a rewatch.
It's a CIA Jesus. It's like undercover, but she's still there. I'm like, all right.
The CIA.
Way to get it there. Okay. And your food you can't live without. Like if I'm going to eat, is that you too? Sushi. And then that's like sushi, but then I'll also, my guilty pleasure food, which is terrible. It does not agree with me, but I love it anyways. A donut.
That is my favorite dessert. Like, I don't think you understand. You need to go watch my store. I was just at a conference and I literally got Shipley's Donuts, which is a chain in Texas, on a platter. I warmed them up for everybody and I put them out in the green room just last Friday.
Oh, I love donuts. Sushi and donuts. That's on my 40th birthday. I rented out a roller rink.
Of course you did.
I'm a girl.
As we do, as one does. You do.
And all, friends came and we had stacks of donuts, and then sushi.
Oh, what?
And let me just tell you, the next day I was so bloated everywhere because
so puffy just everywhere.
Oh, puffed up everywhere.
Fingers tingling. It's a bad combo, but it's good. It's so good.
It's a total bomb, but
that's so funny.
Oh, it's good. Okay, and last one. This is an easy one. Coffee, tea, or kombucha? What's your go-to?
Tea, matcha.
Oh, you're a matcha tea girl.
I am a matcha tea girl.
My daughter loves matcha. I'm a kombucha.
Oh,
so we can.
I used to love it before pregnancy, and the acid, something happened, heartburn.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, it's just bad.
All right, everyone. There you have it, Toni. We love you, and you're gonna write the next book, and then I'm gonna ask you to come back.
You got it.
It's gonna be a hot one off the press. So you guys go get the book. I'm sure it's on Amazon, right?
Yeah, all the things.
Brave Enough to Be Broken. And then Toni also has her own podcast, which is on Ivy Media, right? With our girl Jamie. And that is called Broken Crayons Still Color. So go look for it now. You're looking for a good friend. If you just think you're just delightful and the real deal. And so you're going to hear more from us. So we hope to hear more from you.
Hey.
All right. Thanks for being here, Toni.
Thanks for watching, and remember, this video was brought to you by Revelation Wellness Instructor Training Program. Do you love Jesus and have a passion for fitness and wellness? Or maybe you're tired of the roller coaster of obsessing over and neglecting your body, and you know there has to be more to fitness. Let us equip you to lead others to health and wholeness rooted in Jesus Christ through our faith-based fitness instructor training program. Go to our website to learn more and listen to testimonies of people just like you who are bringing hope and healing to their communities as fitness teacher gospel preachers. Click the link in the description of this video and download a packet to get your journey to health and wholeness through Christ started today.